Welcome to the news in details. I hope you're all having a good weekend. Now, let's start off with President Paul Kagame has pointed out that Rwanda has chosen to do what best suits her as a country and not what others believe is best for her. The head of state has also criticized those who try to create what they call an opposition for the country, when in reality they are bent on destabilizing her security. President Kagame made the comments during an interview with the French television station called TV5 Monde. Serge Nori has more on the details.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président. Merci de nous accueillir ici à la présidence.
The interview focused on Rwanda's policies and the way she deals with other countries when it comes to foreign affairs and international cooperation in general. And this is where the country's current relations with France came into focus, most notably the words spoken by His Excellency Emmanuel Macron at the Kigali Genocide Memorial on Thursday. The Rwandan president was asked to comment on that speech.
Déjà, il a été reconnu qu'il y a eu des responsabilités. Donc, reconnaître
Right from the start, France's role in the genocide against the Tutsi was known. I believe admitting that role is a big step in our eyes. Obviously, some people were gravely affected. As you know, we must all acknowledge how far we have come in the last 27 years. Since the end of the genocide, with President Macron's visit to Rwanda and what he said with such emotion at a location where the facts of what happened have been preserved, taking also into account the reports issued and other documents that came before. I believe all that is important. Some people had fabricated things, trying to create their own history, so you understand that there is a convergence of many problems. However, I think that President Macron's visit and other steps taken are shedding light on the problem, and it is emphasizing that we are on the right track and heading in the right direction, even though the journey continues.
Il faut continuer à voyager, ce n'est pas la fin. Ce n'est pas la fin du chemin. Nous allons continuer, mais on est dans la bonne direction.
Asked why Rwanda is accused of not tolerating opposition, the president responded, pointing out that opposition and attempts to destabilize the country's security should not be confused.
Est-ce que nous acceptons ces divergences de vues? Absolument. Mais pourquoi
We allow
quelqu'un
people to air their views, yes. But why must some think that they can create opposition leaders for us? It is well known that in places like Europe and elsewhere, external influence in their domestic politics is not tolerated. Yet it does not shame you to interfere in the politics of other countries, to the point of dictating what you think is best for them instead of letting them choose for themselves. In Rwanda, we have chosen to do what is best for us, not what others tell us we should do. In any case, we are good students because we listen to what others say, watch closely what happens elsewhere in the world, and respect others. We are a country that is governed by laws, but we also have our own choices as a people.
La règle de droit, nous faisons de notre mieux, mais quand même nous avons nos choix.
The current situation in the eastern DRC was also discussed.
We are trying to manage that.
Nous faisons de notre mieux pour gérer cette situation.
We are doing our best to deal with the consequences of the eruption of the volcano in the DRC close to Rwanda. Obviously, there is a lot of movement across the border, back and forth, as some flee and then decide to return home again. You know that dealing with the effects of natural disasters is not easy because of their unpredictability. A volcano can erupt at any time, just after you have told people to go back to their homes, only to issue another evacuation order. When they flee, they do so in their thousands with nothing, and planning for such events is difficult. They are running for their lives and so usually have nothing with them.
Venant au Rwanda, essayant de fuir, de se sauver, donc ils n'ont rien.
Asked about the situation in Chad, President Paul Kagame pointed out that the people in that country should be given the opportunity to resolve their own issues, though outsiders can offer advice as to how they can go about it.
C'est nous qui vous remercions beaucoup pour cet entretien. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Serge, for that report. Now, the Secretary General of the Internationale Organisation de la Francophonie, Louise Mushikiwabo, has said that the organization is ready to expand cooperation with Rwanda based on cooperation in the field of education. Now, the Secretary General made the announcement on Saturday at the closing ceremony of the French literacy competition for high school students. Take a look. Since October 2020 in Rwanda, there have been 24 volunteers from the Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie. They help in teaching French in 22 schools across the country, while also training teachers who already teach the language. The Secretary General of the Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie, Louise Mushikiwabo, says the program has already yielded results, which is why the organization has decided to continue with it. The group signed an agreement with Rwanda on Thursday, May 27th, to strengthen the partnership. Louise Mushikiwabo also said that the Francophonie organization already has programs in various authorities in different countries, of which Rwanda will also benefit from. We have requests from different countries seeking for our assistance in teaching French to their tour guides, like in Asian countries, for example, like Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, as they are among countries which are advanced in the tourism sector but are disadvantaged in French. We have a project of teaching French across the world, as we also teach it to the UN soldiers. All these are programs in our vision plan, as we aim to promote literacy in French. Rwanda's Minister of State in charge of primary and secondary education at the Ministry of Education, Honorable Gaspard Twagirayezu, says Rwanda is ready to welcome this partnership to promote the teaching of French in schools.
As of recent, we signed an agreement between the Francophonie organization and the Ministry of Education. The agreement included promoting the teaching of French in schools, as this program is aimed to add more value to French and find ways to solve various issues around it.
As OEF volunteers who have been assisting in teaching French in Rwanda review their achievements over the last 6 months, a competition of writing and reading French was prepared for high school students. The top 8 students who won are the ones who competed in the final round on Saturday. A student by the name of Tona Krista from École des Sciences Byimana won first place. As she was filled with happy emotions, she had a few words to tell her peers. As the youth, we have to use our talents as we focus in our studies, because you never know where life could land you. You might be studying biology, physics, chemistry and others, but it is as important to study languages, because you may one day be a doctor in another country and fail to communicate with your patients, which is why it is important to know different languages. The competition, which concluded earlier today, began in April this year with 723 students from 21 schools. The Secretary General of OIF, Louise Mushikiwabo, says that this program will continue in other countries. All congratulations to Krista. Local residents that have gotten the second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine have commended the vaccination program, saying it is an indication of just how much the country cares of its citizens. Ghislaine Mugwaneza has more.
The COVID-19 vaccine doses distribution has started this Saturday. More than 500 health centers were first to be given the vaccine. It was also administered to target risk groups, including elderly people aged 60 and above, people with non-communicable diseases, and other chronic health conditions. Recipients have said that this is a useful activity.
I value this vaccine. The country managed to find these vaccines for us, and this shows that the country cares for its residents as well as loving them to the extent of preserving their lives.
I came here thinking that they will ask me to return to where I took the first dose, but it was different. They welcomed me. I took the first one at Nyaruguru, and I took this from here at Muhima. Giving us vaccines shows that the country look after us. The pandemic still exists, and it's real. 1,234 were the expected number of people to be vaccinated at Remera Health Center because of the fact that it is where they got their first vaccine. But the number increased, which applied the same at Gikondo Health Center. The recipients also addressed the things that should be streamlined.
It would be better if they send us messages so that we could come while we are in the system already. This is the second vaccine we're receiving. One would come and get vaccinated, but we are so many. Practicing social distancing is not being applied.
The Director General of Rwanda Biomedical Center, Dr. Sabin Sanzimana, says that getting the second dose means to be fully vaccinated, and they should have no concerns about the changes that happen after being vaccinated.
The fever and weakness one feels after being vaccinated is a sign that indicates that your body will fight for you when it faces the pandemic. It's not worth being a challenge to people. There is no reason to miss because the second dose has come to reinforce the role of the first one.
Rwanda recently received 247,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine through partnership between the countries aimed at distributing COVID-19 vaccines worldwide, COVAX, of which 117,600 doses were given in collaboration with France.
It has now been a week since the Nyiragongo eruption in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, and even though many of the Congolese who had fled into Rwanda have returned, another 1,600 have chosen to remain in refugee camps in the country for now. Take a look.
On Saturday, another 1,200 refugees decided to climb trucks and head back to the border to cross and return home. Some have chosen to go to Busasamana, and that is up to them. I was fortunate that my house did not burn to the ground, and so I have decided to go back home. If things get bad again, I will come back because you received us well. It does not matter if I find that my house was looted. All that matters is that I and my children are well. We came here fleeing the volcano and we were received well. We are happy about the news that all is now fine and we are going back. I have no idea in what condition I will find my house because we just ran during the night. Another 1,600 have chosen to remain in refugee camps in the country for now, and some of the reasons given for this included that their houses were utterly destroyed by the lava flows, and so they have nothing to return to. Relief workers are now scrambling to build a camp in Busasamana sector that will house them.
Yeah, and we are still setting up the site. People are working to erect the shelters and to provide humanitarian assistance. And we thank the government because they made available trucks and logistics, also latrines. And UNHCR is providing also support in kind of non-food item. What we call non-food item is blanket, mats, face mask, as we are in a COVID period, and also jerrycans.
Small and sporadic tremors have continued in Gisenyi town and across the border in Goma.
The Directorate General of Immigration and Emigration has urged Rwandans to be more involved in obtaining the Rwanda East African e-passports as it extends the deadline for phasing out old passports by 1 year.
In 2019, the government of Rwanda announced that on 28 June 2021, the existing passport will expire and be replaced by the Rwanda East African electronic passports. 100,000 Rwandans have already applied for this new passport since Rwanda started issuing them in almost 2 years, and 95,000 of the applicants live in Rwanda. The Director General of the Directorate General of Immigration and Emigration, François-Régis Gatarayiha, has said that the passport validation has been extended to 28 June 2022 due to the claims from Rwandan diaspora that showed concerns about COVID-19 effects.
Many Rwandans that live and study abroad kept showing different challenges they face, including not reaching to the Rwandan embassies near them to be photographed and give their fingerprints in order to be used in providing new electronic passports.
Local residents have appreciated the decision of the extension of the validity of the old Rwandan passports. It is a chance we have got as Rwandans because it was hard for us, those who had new ones. It was hard to accept that we haven't used our passport and we are going to pay another amount. It is really a chance because it has been 2 years since I got the passport. You understand that it was only 3 years remaining to be expired. It was going to be useless for 3 years, so 1 year extension is a thing to appreciate. The Rwanda East African electronic passport identifies the symbols of Rwandan culture. It also has security symbols that makes it difficult for anyone to copy it. A regular 50-page passport that is valid for 5 years costs 75,000 Rwandan francs. A 66-page valid for 10 years costs 100,000 Rwandan francs, while there is a 34-page passport for children under 5 years that lasts for 2 years. Children aged 6 to 16 will get a 5-year lasting passport at 25,000 francs.
Former drug addicts have admitted that their addiction had led them down a path of violence, promiscuity and depression. And this comes after the organization Purpose Rwanda reached out to them to help fight the scourge of drug addiction. The organization believes dialogue and sensitization efforts do yield result, currently bringing together 220 people divided in support groups, and the goal is to almost double that number.
We work with the most affected, those who have been addicted. We say recovered addicts. 2, we have what you call a transformation journey with them. We track their recovery process and programs. And 3rd, we also look at how we reintegrate them. Reintegration in terms of cooperatives, in terms of activities they are doing, in terms of purposes they are building, in terms of education, to ensure that once they are okay and healthy mentally, physically, it is very easy for them to now get into businesses and be busy. So I'll explain. Number 1, we are approaching this by getting the real first-hand information on the causes, the side effects, and the sources of addictions by using those who suffered from addictions.
Officials in the country's National Rehabilitation Service have urged local authorities in communities to do follow-up on rehabilitated individuals after they return to society lest they relapse.